I'm Jesse. I'm a theater director based in Brooklyn, New York, which is Lenape territory, and this is Holodeck Hamlet. Can we go to the next slide, please? So Holodeck Hamlet is a concept for a live streaming performance, and that's streaming either to browser or to VR goggles. And the idea that I'm starting with is it's one live actor who is performing Hamlet with an ensemble of AI holograms, which is fictional technology, in a holograph virtual environment. So the starting point that I pitched for the hackathon is, how do we simulate fictional technology using existing technology? The concept for Holodeck Hamlet is based on Janet Murray's book, Hamlet on the Holodeck, which was written in 1997. Murray is a scholar of literature with a background in coding and wrote a book about the futures of digital technology and fictional narratives. So what she saw emerging in fictional narratives as they begin to move into computer spaces, whether that's virtual reality or online chat rooms or whatever was emerging at that time. And she uses the holodeck from Star Trek as kind of like the paradigmatic guiding example of what these digital technology narratives will become. And she identifies the following characteristics. They're immersive, so that you can be completely immersed in a holodeck. It's completely interactive. It's transformational, so that it can take on, you can be, if you want to do the holo novel Hamlet, you can be in steampunk Hamlet, or you can be in the old Globe. You just kind of pick what your skin you want to look like. And that you have agency over everything. You can make all the choices that you want, and that the narratives are multiform. And this, the technology, particularly for the AI, I believe is what is most limited in terms of being able to create those experiences, because you can't have a completely interactive experience with an AI character that can respond to all of your choices realistically. That's actually where it's most limited, which is kind of exciting. But all of these criteria that she describes are also very present in the experience of making theater or making art. And I was interested in just like the tension between perhaps those ideas as somebody who's my life is live theater, and I really enjoy spectatorship, one where I do sit back and all I choose is what I want to look at on stage. And so I think that both creation and spectatorship are unique experiences with unique properties. And this is a way of exploring both. And also, someone told me about the book and I thought, oh, that sounds like a play. I should probably read that book and figure out what this is about. So I brought it to the hackathon with the project of simulating fictional technology, a fictional actor, because the person who is putting on this play in this scenario is a fictional person, and that they have a story and a context around them, and that there's a fictional relationship to that technology. So the project also becomes about what is our relationship with technology. It's not about putting an actor in technology, but getting to observe their relationship and reflect on their relationship with technology, while the audience, the audience spectator is participating in another type of relationship. So the group that we formed together was this amazing, ambitious, generous group of storytellers and designers who were interested in a project that involved dramaturgy and theatrical storytelling, the event of going to live theater, but also mixing live performance and film. or other types of multimedia experiences. And so that was the team that we did. And the process that we embarked on was kind of like a devising theater process. While we were also trying to build technology and build moments to show, we were also discovering what the play world was, or what the performance world was, and asking questions along the way. So I'll start off by talking about like some of the features of the dramaturgical questions that I was tracking as a director as we were involved in this process. And one is we had, the dramaturgy of Hamlet. What is the story of Hamlet, and why is it an appropriate text? And all of the existential themes, the meta-theatrical themes, where being a spectator and a performer are brought into question, explicitly thematized and within the action of the text. And that complicates in very exciting ways when you start to talk about, like, well, just doing that in a digital environment is really interesting. The spectatorship experience, what is the story of somebody who is putting on a play, who is entering into a digital theater? Because a discussion that we had about this play or about Holodeck Hamlet is, we really miss live theater as live theater makers. There's something a little bit unsatisfying personally about watching theater on stage without being able to choose where I look. I miss being able to feel my seats and feel people next to me. So the spectatorship experience that this thought experiment of Holodeck Hamlet provides for the audience member has a whole set of storytelling consequences for it, and raises questions. There is the actor, the story of the actor who is playing Hamlet and performing this play for that streaming audience. Who is that person? Why are they doing that? I mean, aside from everybody wants to play Hamlet, if you had access to this advanced fictional technology, why would you use it to put on a play and stream Hamlet for a fictional audience? And that becomes very, all the more, it becomes very relevant because that's exactly what we're experiencing in New York City as theater artists under the restrictions of COVID, is that we can't collaborate directly with people. Our collaborators, live actors, we can't be in a room and watch theater with other people. So this project has like the spectatorship experience and the relationship between the actor who's putting on this like nostalgic or retro spectator experience has a story that's related to this contemporary context. And that's also about access too. There's a story of fictional technology. How far in the future do we imagine we are when we are imagining this technology that's capable of creating a cast of artificial intelligence holograms that can perform an entire play of Hamlet? Do we think that this technology is hacked together from like a PlayStation 7, or is it something that was that everybody has access to, and it was really made for holo novels, and it's being used exactly as it's supposed to be used? Or is it used to pilot a spaceship, but it's been kind of cracked open for this other purpose, because this person has this need to put on a play, to tell a story for people and act it out. And then there's the story of particularly like AI and machine learning, which was a big discovery for me because I don't know a lot about AI and machine learning, but the imperfections of artificial intelligence that are built into the process of teaching a machine becomes the action of the play in very exciting ways. And that learning about artificial intelligence, so we could put AI and machine learning into represented in the play in some way, became dramaturgy about the technology as a character. And that when we see it on screen and how does it behave, all of that was became the background, the research about what this presence is when it is anthropomorphized and not, and what are the features of that interaction. What does AI do well? What does AI not do well? And therefore, what is going to make this, what are the obstacles in performing this play, which is what plays are about, obstacles. So the first element that we looked at creating or talked about was the virtual holographic environment, that it would include the presence of a theater, one with seats and a proscenium, and a virtual stage, and that spectator would be in the theater, so that you can have the person putting on the goggles or sitting in front of the browser can have that remembered experience of being in a theater, and that there is a virtual stage that the play is being performed on. Our goal, we talked about, like, yeah, we should do this in VR 3D experience using Unity or Unreal Engine, which some interface better with AI than others. And that ended up not becoming one of the goals for this project. So we just represented it with the following images in 2D to illustrate some points. So in this, you see the spectator who is looking at an actor, and there is this false proscenium, and the agency that the spectator or viewer has is in their point of view, which actually makes a big difference when you're watching a live performance, is that you get to choose which actor you want to focus on, and you know, which part of the choreography, or if you want to just kind of stare at a scenic element, or you can see the curtains. There's also a difference between, let's go to the next slide and see what's on there. There's also a difference between the size and scale of a theater, or the design of a theater, that's very determinant of a production. The feeling of being in, you know, Lincoln Center and seeing Shakespeare, or in a small black box theater where you're a couple feet away from the actors, whether you're watching it in a deep thrust or in the round, those like make the performance. So being able to make those choices, experience yourself in a different theater, and experience like a different skin or design concept for the production, like Steampunk Hamlet or in the Old Globe. I would kind of love to see Hamlet in the Old Globe or Steampunk Hamlet, sure, why not? So those are the ways in which the virtual reality and the 3D virtual environment, we started to imagine those. And our limit, we just, yeah. And then we begin to see like, there's one live actor and there's one holographic actor. And when you put them in the same space, really that's the interaction that we decided that we wanted to focus on, is the interaction between a live actor and a virtual actor in a digital environment. So everything we're doing in our production, our presentation is 2D, but it would translate nicely to 3D. So that's our focus of our hack. And the first thing I want to talk about a little bit more about AI and machine learning in the context of this project is, I'm going to start by talking about the dramaturgy on it, and I'm going to turn it over to Michaela, who's going to talk about the actual technology. We talked about a lot of different, a lot of things we could put on the palette to create this fictional AI. Because we can't upgrade we can't achieve the technology, but we can achieve the impression of it. So a composite or a collage of human and computer elements to make this actor. And we talked about voice, that there could be digital voices using the AI tools that are available to us, or a human voice, or the text that the actor speaks. It can be the text of Hamlet, because what bots do really well is say their line when it's their turn to say their line. Or for some reason, they could go off script, and it could be sensical, it could be nonsensical, but that it could be scripted, or it could be improvised, and that there could be an AI feeding text that is being generated in the moment. We talked about the movement of that actor, of their face, and their responses. Are they responding in real time, and what are they responding to? Those being also potentially generated by an AI. This was a big surprise to me, is learning more about what it means to teach a bot. And that if somebody wanted to teach a bot to be an actor in a play, you would have to teach it how to do that, and what would go into that. So the first, a big aha for me, like a wonderful oh damn discovery, is that while you're watching somebody perform Hamlet with these AIs that they are making, is that what you're watching on stage is them teaching a bot how to perform Ophelia, and that the bot is learning how to perform Ophelia, and that the corpus text that we would put into this bot becomes the criteria, becomes the play text. So if we chose moments where we went off script and Hamlet was no longer the text of Hamlet, that it would be generated from the corpus text, but that you choose that corpus text based on what would you do to teach a bot how to play Ophelia, and that you would have to teach, what you would feed it, Judith Butler, Cosmo Magazine, Stanislavski on acting. That was exciting to learn about. And then this idea, which also extends to all aspects of this fictional technology, is failures or glitches as features, and that the way that you teach a bot is by telling it, no, you did that wrong. And so highlighting all the obstacles to putting on a perfect performance with an artificial intelligence robot, as opposed to trying to create the most perfect simulation of it, but creating one that's highly flawed and has lots of glitches, and getting to see when this bot is failing. One, why is it failing? What is the performance asking the computer to do that is causing it to fail? And that being a trigger for these, there's the rub, the obstacles. So that is the dramaturgical element of AI. And now I turn it over to Michaela, who's going to talk about the technological elements of it and what we've done.
Yeah, next slide, please. So basically, I love the process, how we actually decided what the AI or what the chatbot will be. It's not an AI bot yet, it's a simple chatbot. And basically, I think one of our conversations, once we decided that it will be Ophelia, when I was feeding the texts to the corpus, in order to train the chatbot, I was thinking who Ophelia is, and I was thinking about how Shakespearean Ophelia, like how the character is actually a weak character for me. Maybe that's just a personal opinion. But then I thought, okay, how? And I also felt, she was in love with Hamlet, but her love was not fulfilled. And so I thought about who who the AI character is in that scene, and what is to be a woman, and how you define womanhood nowadays, but also in Shakespearean times. So then we decided together to feed her with, as Jessie already mentioned, Judith Butler and Simone de Beauvoir, but also some interesting texts from Cosmopolitan, and yeah, I had and also Lady Macbeth, which I find one of the strongest characters of Shakespeare. And so basically I made the chatbot in Microsoft Azure AI platform, and I started with Q&A Maker, where basically I made the corpus where I distinguished between Hamlet and Ophelia, and Ophelia was composed of this body of discourses from Butler Beauvoir and de Beauvoir and Lady Macbeth and Ophelia. And basically, for now, it's a simple chatbot that if you feed it the Hamlet's speech, it will respond as Ophelia, and sometimes it will, or often it will go off script and will tell you something from Simone de Beauvoir's book about love, or I try to connect it thematically so that it makes a little bit of sense, but it's also not completely in line with what Shakespeare wrote. So yeah, that's the chatbot. What would we would do in the next development phase? Next slide. We would probably enlarge, as Jessie already mentioned, there would be more characters. So we would train different characters with different texts. Also, the bots would need to distinguish between other bots and how they communicate within each other, which is also an interesting question. How to? We also, in order for the chatbot to get more intelligent, in order that it can, for instance, improvise, we still need to connect it to Lois AI platform, which is Lois AI, which is a software also on Azure platform, or depending on what we decide, we would implement other machine learning processes. We would connect. We need still to connect the speech to text and text to speech recognition in order to chatbot to understand what we say and to produce also speech, but that's actually something that is not that difficult to make. It was just like time restraint, it was time restrictions. We would connect the AI bot with the interface in a VR engine such as Unreal and Unity in order to create a 3D avatar. And then we would, through testing with actors, so that, and through the interaction with the avatar, we would train the avatar in order to get more real, but also still stay within its scope. That's it.
And now we're going to show a video and wrap up.
We were really excited to see how far we could get the development of the AI in this week. We wanted to give a short performance of what our proposed live stream of an AI and an live actor interaction might look like. In the scope of this week, we created a 2D environment for this interaction to happen in. We created a system with our actor in front of a green screen and an AI-driven animated character. So we'll go there next.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is noble in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep no more. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia, nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered.
Good my lord, how does your honour for this many a day?
I humbly thank you. Well, well, well.
My lord, I have remembrances of yours, that I have longed to redeliver. I pray you, now receive them.
No, not I never gave you naught.
My honoured lord, you know right well you did. Supposing, however, that there should also be men to whom the desire for total devotion is not alien. There, my lord, then they simply are not men.
Ha ha.
My
Are you
lord?
honest? Are you
What
fair?
means your lordship? Of course, the man must belong to the same class and the same race as her own.
you will
The
have no
privilege
more
of sex
marriages.
works only
Those
within
that
this
are married,
framework.
all
For
but
him to be
one
a demigod,
shall
he must
live.
obviously
The
be a
rest
human being
shall keep as
first.
they are. To a nunnery. Go.
Closed off in the sphere of the relative, destined for the male from her earliest childhood, used to seeing him as a sovereign, with whom equality is not permitted, the woman who has not suppressed her claim to be human will dream of surpassing her being toward one of those superior beings, of becoming one, of fusing with the sovereign subject. There is no other way out for her than losing herself body and soul in the one designated to her as the absolute, as the essential.
All right.
Bravo.
All
That was
right.
the one. Are we done?
That's a wrap. We're good.
Good. I'm hungry. My stomach is empty.
Thanks for putting up the collaborators slide. Like I said, we'll make sure that the holodeck team is well represented within the documentation on the hackathon page as it gets put together.
Ha 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 ha!